Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 281, and today we're going to be doing battle in the Darkened Saga World Ender Seasonal Tournament. Could be the ender of all seasonal tournaments, if you will. We're not unsure what Riot has in store for the competitive scene after this event. A lot of competitive changes coming. They haven't been announced yet, but that's for the future. Here for today, we'll be playing in seasonals. And so, if you're new to the channel, the way I like to handle these best of three videos are I don't talk too in depth about the decks. If you want to hear more about the decks, you can scroll back in time through the channel. We've covered all of them in the daily Battles with Bust videos. But I will go through the way that we went about picking this lineup in some of the matchups and picks and bans that we're looking to expect to go after and run into. And so, if you're wanting to just skip ahead to the gameplay, we are going to play Aatrox Kayn, we're going to play Sunburn, the Katarina Leona deck, and we're going to play Jinx Lulu. And so, to jump into the best of three, and so the kind of highlights, the big ideas and land of thinking I had with this are I'm going to play Sunburn. I'm going to play Katarina Leona. This is my favorite deck in a really long time. I've had a wonderful time playing this. This is really kind of like kicked on my resurgence of just grinding a ton of ladder and really having fun with it. And so we knew that we were going to play it. We're pretty happy with our list. We're pretty happy about the matchups. Everything is good there. Deck number two, we're playing Aatrox Kayn. This is another one that I've been pretty happy with in terms of it's so good against aggro, and it's so good against the non-control decks that aren't just dedicated to beating Aatrox Kayn. It's just extremely good against a large swath of the meta. It's doing the most powerful things you can do in the format with the World Ender. I've been exceptionally happy with the deck there. Now, if you've been following along with us over the past few days, I have been playing a lot of Blue Gwen Sejuani, and now with the rise of the Katarina Opulent Foyer decks, I'm just not happy with that deck's place in the format anymore. And so we kicked it out. We added in Jinx Lulu. Now, the idea with Jinx Lulu and what we're trying to pull off with this lineup is number one, first and foremost, I'm looking to be good against Katarina Opulent Foyer. I'm not looking to have a lineup that just absolutely smashes it. I'm not looking for a bunch of decks that have 60% plus win rates and are pretty trash against everything else. I just want decks that can stand up against Red Gwen. And so we're pretty happy with our lineup with that. Next is the kind of thing in this current meta as to what I kind of call the third deck, right? And what typically happens with a lot of these formats are your opponent is pretty well tied into just like banning one deck or even your kind of secondary deck, and then you have to play your third deck just against everybody throughout the entirety of the event. And so to me, that's why I don't really like having like triple aggro lineups or triple control lineups, is that you never get to play the best deck. You never get to play the best aggro deck because your opponent's just always going to ban it. You only get to play the number two and the number three deck. And so if you're only playing like the third best aggro deck in the format instead of playing like the best mid-range deck, the best control deck, the best combo deck, whatever, then you're really kind of like leaving a lot of win percentage on the table. And so with that, that's where Gangplank Sejuani has really kind of shined in this format. It's not an aggro deck, but it does kind of aggro things. It's not a mid-range deck on its own, but it has like the really high-powered mid-games with the champions. And it's just in this kind of interesting space to where it beats up on decks like Pirates, but then it can really hold its own against the mid-range decks of the format with the Sejuani flip, but then it also does enough weird fast shit to where it can win a game against control decks. And so it's not like a 60-70% win rate against anything, but it's not a dog against anything. And so a lot of people are really hype about playing Gangplank Sejuani in this format because it's so good against the majority of the field. But doesn't really get beat up on anything, and it's not taking away to where you're playing the third best aggro deck of the format. And so with that long-winded talk about Gangplank Sejuani in mind, I do want to be good against that one as well. And so that is the first two pillars of what we're trying to do, right? I want to be good against Red Gwyn. I want to be good against Gangplank Sejuani. Piece number 3 is, unless I absolutely have to, I do not want to play Aatrox Kayn mirror matches. We've found in the past that it is okay to both bring the best deck in the format, which Aatrox Kayn arguably is, and also plan to ban it from your opponents. If you are one of the best of the best, one of the top in the world, I'm sure you can get an advantage in the Aatrox Kayn mirror match. That's a mirror match that seems ripe and open for a lot of outplays, but I'm not there. I have not played enough of the deck to feel really confident in that. As we've kind of made our way higher up into Masters, I've felt like I've just gotten really worked over by that upper echelon of player in the mirror match, and so I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to ban out Aatrox Kayn in the event that it turns up. And it's also a deck that's good against our other two. It's a reasonable deck against Sunburn. It's a pretty good deck against Jinx Lulu. And so that's the third idea with the deck, is we are looking to ban that out. And so, to jump into the next piece, the matchup tables are what I want to talk about next. I'll go ahead and pull away from the game client and come up here. We've got the Sir Termund page pulled up right now, and up to like today or yesterday, I didn't realize that the matchup tables were even available. We ran into a bit of a problem this season, if you will, in that there were the two main stats sites. There was the LOR meta site, and then there was Legna's site, LLORstats.com. And the LOR meta guy was kind of like, well, there's enough people out here doing this stuff. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. I'm going to shut the site down. And so I understand. We appreciate the work you did. That's not here anymore. But then this season, the LOR stats site got DDoS or something, and they were going to have to pay a bunch of money and bandwidth fees to keep the site up. So the site went down, and the stats weren't really out there. They weren't available. But in reading through Sir Termund's article out here, I found that the stats were here, and it really helped out in the sense of having nice, good, clean stats from people up in Masters. And so that is still out there and available. Piece number 2 with the Sir Termund article, you have to give it a read and be kind of familiar with it. Agree or disagree with what the guy says, I don't care. He is the most visible person talking about the best of 3 lineups, and if you're in a space to where you're not certain about what to do with seasonals, you qualified through the Last Chance Gauntlet, you only really play one deck and you need another 2 decks to add into your lineup, or you just show up and say, hey, I want to play control decks, tell me what to do. Those situations are extremely and very common. And so even if you don't agree with his points, you have to accept that there's going to be a lot of influence of his articles into the event. I think his points are wonderful and are right up there, and definitely more valid than mine in terms of best of 3. But that's kind of the last thing that you're wanting to kind of piece in and put out there. It's a very well done article. He does these things all of the time, and highly recommend going and checking that out. And so, in terms of the matchup tables, the last thing I was going to talk about, just in the event that you wanted to see how I kind of came across Jinx Lulu, as opposed to playing something like Blue Sejuani or Blue Gwen, this was the way that I think is kind of the easiest way to go about it, was if we just kind of take the entire matchup table, you're just going to sort it, right? We're looking at Katarina Gwen as the deck we care about the most, so we got that one in the first position. We're just going to sort it. We're going to put the highest win rates up at the top, and then just cut out all of these decks that are under 45%. I think 45% is a place to where it's like, yeah, we'll play the matchup, not be happy about it, but it's not terrible. And so, that really just kind of cut down the viable decks to a good degree, right? There was like 50, now there's only like 20 some. Then we go and do the same thing with Gangplank Sejuani. That's the one over here. We can do another sort where we add data, sort range. Give me those options, please. Gangplank Sejuani. This is where I'll stop, but you can kind of do the same exercise, cut out all of these decks down here at the bottom. That gets you to a much more concise collection of decks. Now, if you want to run through with us, we know that we were going to play Aatrox Kayn, and we knew that we were going to play Leona. Katarina Leona is here. If you want to highlight those, you can run through and just cut out all the decks that no longer work anymore. So there's Diana, Leona here. I believe there was another Leona, but I might have been wrong in that sense. But that gets you really kind of like cut down to a nice, concise collection of decks. Here it was, Aphelios Leona. And so you can really narrow things down. We knew we weren't going to play Gwen Sejuani, so we could cut that one out. Into the kind of decks that I just don't really like playing. Pantheon Varus I've never understood, so you can cut that one out. I don't respect Kaisa in the current format. You can cut that one out. We're not going to just play Elise Gwen. That's just a really big aggro deck. I'm not looking to play a kind of worse version of Katarina Leona, so you can cut that one out. I've never had respect for Jinx Draven, so you can cut that one out. Not going to play elites. You can cut that one out. And that gets you down to, a pretty short and concise collection of decks. From that point forward, I felt like the decks either came down to you're either playing Jinx, you're playing Swain, or you're playing Nora. I tried my best to piece together some of the Nora decks. I don't like them. I tried to get together some more pirate-oriented Twisted Fate decks. I didn't like those either, and that brought us back to the only remaining deck that I do like, and the Jinx Lulu. And so that's kind of the way that the lineup came together, the way that we got rid of the Sejuani and added in the Jinx Lulu. Now, to get into the matchups and the last piece of strategy, I think this gets it kind of cleared together pretty well. I've got the matchup table into a kind of more concise and easier way to kind of partake in what's happening here. I think this is the good section up here where I have the big ones highlighted kind of in the center of the screen. I know it can be hard to kind of follow along, but this is the Red Gwen, the Gangplank Sejuani, Jinx Lulu, the Mirror Match, and Trundlemere as decks we probably don't need to be banning, right? We have pretty good matchups with these the rest of the way down. And then looking at the remainder of the decks on the left side of the screen, they all tend to be decent matchups for two of our decks. And so if we are up against something like Pantheon Varus, this is the one at the bottom of the non-aggro stuff we aren't banning section. You can see we've got two good matchups and then a bad one with Aatrox Kayn. So if they do manage to come in and say ban out our Jinx Lulu, we shouldn't be completely in bad shape here. We have a less than optimal matchup and then a very good matchup. Now, the things that I do want to talk about are over here on the right side. There is the stuff we are banning section. First and foremost, unless we're in some kind of dedicated control lineup, we're going to look to ban out Echo Jinx. This is the deck that gives our lineup the most problems. Whether or not the opponent is either looking to pick on Aatrox Kayn or if they're looking to beat up on the aggro lineups, this is the matchup that I'm not really looking to play. And so if the opponent has kind of a good decks lineup or a general variety lineup, we're going to ban out Echo Jinx. Next, given the option, we will look to ban out Aatrox Kayn. Again, I don't want to play this mirror match. If we have to, it's fine. We shouldn't have to worry about too much with both Aatrox Kayn and Echo Jinx. I don't think these are two decks that show up in conjunction a lot, but if we do, we'll ban Jinx, and then after that, Aatrox is the next one on the list. Now, the remainder of this stuff, I prefer to take out the decks that have heal in it, and so Nora is the next kind of really problematic card. So Nora Vagar is the problem, then Heimerdinger Jace, another one we'd be looking to get rid of. After that, we have the Nora decks. After that, we have the Twisted Fate decks. And so it's a nice generalist kind of idea for the stuff that we're going to ban. The two big ones we'll be banning out today are the Echo Jinx and the Aatrox Kayn. Now, before we leave the matchup table section, the last thing I wanted to talk about is we did pull up each of Sir Terman's recommended lineups. I think this is kind of a very important strategy to kind of come in and soak up and think about. Again, you don't have to agree with his viewpoints. I get you may not agree with everyone. You probably don't agree with me, but you have to accept that these are going to be common things. And so his number one recommended lineup down here in this bottom section, Red Gwen, Gangplank, and Echo Jinx. This is a lineup I feel we're pretty good against, right? We designed our lineup to be good against both Jinx, or both Red Gwen and Gangplank. Easy ban on Echo Jinx. I feel pretty good about that. With the next one, this is where we start to run into some slight problems. There's the Gangplank matchup. That's what we're looking to beat up on. That's great. But it has Feel the Rush and Aatrox Kayn. Feel the Rush is a deck that's good for our aggro decks, bad for Aatrox Kayn. and so we can look to struggle there. But I'm actually looking to ban out the Aatrox Kayn mirror match in this one. This is the space as to where Aatrox Kayn is good against both of our aggro decks. I don't want to play the mirror. We'll run the risk at being in a game 3 with Aatrox against Feel the Rush. I feel pretty decent about this one as well. His lineup number 3, the triple aggro lineup, we have positive matchups with all of our decks across all of these matches. That's quite good, and I feel extra good about our Sunburn list coming into that. The third one, the anti Aatrox Kayn lineup. This is one that can bring us some trouble. This is a lineup centered on leaving Aatrox Kayn up and then beating it twice. And so my kind of feelings with it is we're going to ban Feel the Rush. The best matchup of the 3 that we have is going to be against Rumble Vein. And Feel the Rush is a deck that if the pairings go our way, we'll get to beat it with an aggro deck before it gets to beat up on our Aatrox Kayn, and then we have a coin flip against Rumble Vein. The second reason with this is I feel like the Aatrox Kayn deck plays a little bit better into Pantheon Varus, since we have the Frostbite cards. The Frostbite things can give you a bit of play in shutting down their key turns, to where against Feel the Rush, you don't have anything to really shut down a Feel the Rush. And so that is our last one there. Last but not least, his anti-aggro lineup is going to smoke us. I feel like if you play against this, they're just going to ban your Aatrox Kayn, and then try and have their way with your aggro decks. My thoughts in this, we're looking to ban out Twisted Fate Swain. You're going to have to get lucky in these matchups. And, excuse me, I feel like Echo Jinx and Aatrox Kayn are both decks that, while they are favorites, they have a lot of really inconsistent draws. It's very easy with Aatrox Kayn to have these starts to where you mulligan and you have like 3 equipment and a Kayn and you can't do anything until the 4th turn. We have the opportunity to beat that pretty handily. The same thing can kind of apply to Echo Jinx. If you do a bunch of predicting and you maybe find Jinx but don't find Echo, or you find Echo but don't find Jinx, or we're able to answer your champion first and then you never draw a second one, there's a lot of high roll shenanigans that can go wrong in that matchup as well, as to where I feel like Twisted Fate Swain is just the much more consistent all the way across the board deck. And so the Twisted Fate Swain deck isn't the one that we would want to ban if we were, say, playing a best of 1,000, right? If we have to really grind out a ton of matches, we don't want that. But in the idea of a best of 1, I want to ban out these decks that have a little bit more polarity into having things go wrong. And so that's the idea with the lineup. Again, I'm not going to get really into the decks. We can talk about them for just a moment. This is the same Katarina Leona deck we've been playing for quite a while now. We do not play the Legion Saboteurs, we do not play House Spiders, and we do not play Legionnaire's Feast, whatever the +2 attack to all of your units is. I think that's just way too overly aggressive, and the deck just doesn't need them. The problem you tend to run into with this is running out of value on turn 5 or turn 6 or turn 7, and we really make up for that with the inclusion of the Solari Priestess. In terms of these other cards, we're playing a single copy of Shunpo. This is a nice way to get a additional rally without having to use Katarina. And we're playing a single copy of Nox and Tellstones, a very nice catch-all kind of card. It gives us an additional way to kill a Katarina, gives us a nice combat trick, lots of very useful things that come out of the Nox and Tellstones. Deck number 2, Aatrox Kayn, fairly straightforward here. My thoughts on Aatrox Kayn are I do like to play 3 copies of Shadowblade Fanatic. Again, as we talked about in the kind of high rolling against this deck section, you really can't have these games to where you don't play anything until the 4th turn of the game. The 3 copies of Shadowblade Fanatic is our kind of protection against that. Next up, I don't like the Scout unit in this format. We aren't playing the 4-cost Scout guy. We're playing the Ambitious Cultist. I just feel like if you're playing Aatrox Vane with a V, the nice Vampire Hunter, then you want that Scout unit, right? You have the tumble combos and you have the ways to cheat the equipment onto the unit. But in Aatrox Kayn, I feel like you just don't have time to pull off the combos with that guy. So we just play the Ambitious Cultist, a nice, quicker, interactive unit to get on the board. Last but not least, we're playing a singular copy of the Violent Discord. I do still like having this additional way to potentially kill off a Katarina. Is it ultimately reliable? No. Katarina has a lot of ways around a card like this, but it's another thing that we can play in the early game. It's a way to kill off a Katarina. I like the extra utility we get out of the Violent Discord. Last but not least, we have our Lilu Jinx deck, and I'll be honest with you, the way I found this one was just over on was over on Mastering Runeterra. I decided kind of late in the format that I was going to be playing this deck, and so I don't feel like I have enough experience with it to be nitpicking with the numbers, and I'll show you the person I feel like has that experience. I'll get that pulled up real quick. Okay, so yeah, if you're just on runeterra.ar and you're on the meta page, you go to Jinx Lulu. If you're looking up at the top, this is a very useful section in determining whether or not these lists are garbage or not. A lot of times up here, you'll see these people only have like 20 or 30 games with the list. That's not nearly enough. Old Squeeby over here, look at this. This guy has almost 900 matches with Jinx Lulu and carrying a almost 58% win rate. That's just insane. And so I assume, around game 500 or so, this guy probably really locked in the list. And as he's gotten up to almost 1,000 games, I would say that his thoughts on, whether or not you should play 3 copies of Sneezy Biggledust or whatever are just going to be way more relevant than anything that I have. You got to concede the answers to the experts when they come about. The thing I will note is I have really enjoyed this one copy of Electro Harpoon. Just a fantastic way to come in and kill a Katarina. It's a matchup that's already good, but I feel like this was the one thing that kind of drew me to the deck, and the guy kind of being really on point with the currency of the meta. And being in tune with it and not playing a deck that's 2 or 3 weeks old. And so that's the list, that's the lineup, those are the decks that we'll be playing. You know what we have to do before the battles begin, though. We have to go and pay the pay-to-win price. And now this is pretty interesting to me. We checked this out. We got the Broccoli Stacks of Battle Academia deck here. If you took a peek at it, it's both the Battle Academia Katarina and Leona. And I thought that was pretty interesting as we go and look at the Lulu Jinx deck. I never realized that both of them were Star Guardians, and I feel like this is the most appropriate upgrade that we can be doing. And so we have the full-on Battle Academias, we got the full-on Star Guardians, and then we have the full-on Demons. if you go and check out Aatrox Kane, neither of these bros have access to skins, but all 6 of our champions are turned premium today, and I feel like we're doing the things we need to do to pay the pay-to-win price. It's not about skill. It's all about luck and paying to win. That's what we're hoping to to use to achieve success today. And so that's the lineup. That's the input, the ideas on what we're going to be doing. We just got to wait on the battles here. We'll jump on in. And so good luck to us. Good luck to our opponents. Let's have ourselves some good games today. All right, and off we go. Round 1, less than a minute away. Exciting stuff. And so, as I was doing my practice games today, I ran into an absolute fuckload of Katarina. And so, it feels pretty decent, right? As it's always been kind of interesting playing on the ladder the morning before seasonals. The kind of popular deck, the deck of the day, tends to really kind of show itself as people try to get some last-minute preparations with it in. And we were, expecting this Katarina to be here, and I think it's going to show up in full force today. A lot of the higher-level pros recommending that gets, fit into the lineup. And so I'm glad we kind of went out of our way to bring forth a set of decks that should be pretty decent against it. But the battles are beginning up against Rui Sax D. And hey, look, it's a little bit of that Katarina. And so I wouldn't say that this is probably going to be a triple aggro lineup. Let's see this real quick. There's the Katarina Gwen. What's it running in here? He's not doing the opulent foyer thing. And so it's a standard red Gwen with the harrowing, the classic version of it. A little bit of Jinx Draven coming in, the big aggro deck featuring her. And then Gangplank Sejuani, another deck that we weren't really looking to ban. And so we do have some, options as far as these decks go. I'm leaning towards just leaving up both of the Noxus decks. All of our decks deal pretty well with those. There are some explosive draws coming out of the Jinx deck, but I think we're going to be pretty even across the board against the Sejuani Gangplank. And let me see real quick. I Made a little bit of whoopsies and closed out my spreadsheet, but we can get it pulled up real quick. Let's see. See how these matchups look. Go to this beautiful thing called matchup table. Here's Jinx Draven. Pretty strong across the board. Aatrox Kayn has a bit of a negative matchup there. Red Gwen, I don't think I have on the thing here. It looks like another place where the Aatrox Kayn matchup's probably a little bit weak. And then actually Gangplank Sejuani is looking to be the worst of the three for us. And so that's the one I'm kind of expecting to ban. I think the kind of interesting space here is that Jinx Lulu is the one of our decks that's actually weakest against Gangplank Sejuani, but I suspect that he's probably, well, it may turn up. I think we still want to end up banning out this deck, though, so we'll get that one out of the way. I do want to kind of come in and copy-paste these deck lists real quick. Let me see. Can get that going in the old paint. It's a little bit more challenging than I wanted it to be. I switched to using paint.net, and I'm not I'm not fully versed in it, but let me continue on with this. So yeah, we're going to ban out Gangplank Sejuani. I think that that's okay. All right, so yeah, just a little bit of pre-match upkeep. I'm sorry about having to do that, but as we come back in again, the Gangplank or I'm sorry, the Gwen deck, it looked pretty straightforward. One copy of Mark of the Isles. It's got the Ravenous Flocks and Friends, no opulent foyers, and it's going for the more late game focused, the more standard red Gwen, if you will, with the Reckoner package, the Eternal Dancers, and the Harrowing. This is not the opulent foyer with the shun pose, and even starting to see Trifari and Fighting Pits or whatever that landmark is some of these days. And so pretty standard there. Looking standard along with the Jinx Draven as well. Playing the survival skills, 2 Reveler's Feasts. I got you here. And so yeah, that seems okay. So we're gonna the thing that people were curious about how much would turn up was going to be these kind of triple aggro lineups. That's what we're going to get to see out of this one, even though the Gangplank Sejuani, not entirely the most aggro-centric deck. I am happy to take it out of the mix. And so I'm curious which one opponent tends to ban here, as his lineup does look to kind of lean into beating Aatrox Kayn. And so I suspect that one's going to stay up. I would think that the ban he would be looking for is our Leona deck. It tends to have pretty solid matchups against these aggro things. You can just run out these draws to where you have a lot of Daybreak units in the early game, and it's tough to attack into when you play a 2/2 and your opponent plays a 3/3, and then you play a 2/2 and another 2/2, and then they play a 3/6, and you get to get good blocks across the board. And so I suspect we're going to be playing Jinx Lulu and Aatrox Kayn. We got the 9 1-drops. 1 Mark of the Isles. Only 1 Nox and Fervor. I can't remember. Like, I haven't played loads and loads of Red Gwen. I can't remember if that's standard or not. So coming out of this one, no Mystic Shots. Just to get excited is the only burn spell. And oh boy, we got a kitty here. That's what we really needed to get things up and running. So let me get some kitty up here before the battles begin. She says, "I'm here for round 1. Don't worry about me. I was gonna be here regardless." So, welcome aboard, kitty friend. So here we go. We're gonna ban out that Jinx Draven. Let's see what opponent takes away from us. Again, I think it's probably gonna be the Katarina Leona, but you know, we'll see. I'm up for a surprise. He bans out the Jinx Draven. Cool. And so I'm going to lead off with the Sunburn deck. I think that this should be a reasonable matchup against both. I'm reasonably okay with either matchup into these, and so let's see how it starts. Katarina versus Katarina. Targon versus Shadow Isles, if you will. And so reasonable enough start with the double 1-drops, gives us some opportunities to just get in front of what the opponent's doing. And then as we got a little bit more familiar with the other Katarina decks, the Opulent Foyer version, those tend to play a lot of things like Quietus, which is non-existent in the opponent's deck list here, so we don't have to completely worry about our units dying on the first turn here. So I'm going to come in with the bird. The thing to note with this is we are the control deck of the matchup. I know everybody's playing Legion Rearguards and looking to do very aggro-centric things, but we are the control deck here. We're going to be the ones taking things just a little bit slower and trying to get some board advantages like we can do a little bit with here, where our Solari soldier is able to battle the Redeemed Prodigy, come out victorious at the end of the day. Oh shit, I just overpassed me. This is a good start to your seasonals, is when you leave your Crimson Pigeon in hand when you have that extra mana banked up. Got a little distracted trying to pet the cat over here, but let the excuses flow. Let the excuses flow. You almost dropped a card here. I would think that would probably be a Vile Feast. Yeah. Okay. Still a pretty reasonable board for us here. And the birds coming everywhere. You gotta dig it. Alright, we'll try and fix things a little bit here. We'll try and get our friend Crimson Pigeon onto the board now. Say, I'm sorry, friend. I didn't mean for life to be so hard for you. I didn't mean for you to be missing out on all of these stats. It would be pretty cool if you were a 4/4 on this upcoming turn, but that's not the way things are gonna be today. I'm sorry, my dude. So with this, let's just go ahead and drop in Ravoon. I'd prefer to save the Sunhawk for when the opponent's trying to bring aggression onto us. We would ideally be out here killing, or I should say at least stopping attack things like Eternal Dancers, stopping a Gwen, stopping a Katarina from attacking. We don't need to be making a big aggressive push on this turn. Next turn, we have a great place to be putting that aggressive push into, though. So we're exceptionally healthy here. This is kind of a nice spot to be in. I'm not going to play around Ravenous Flock. That's just going to be a little bit too strong into our units, but I will play around the 1 damage pings. So ideally here, we're going to get to clear out his board. He's just going to have Gwen, and then we can roll into the next turn and just drop stuns on everything else. So hopefully he doesn't have the flock to take down our Ravoon, and then we can go into the next round, bring in a Sunhawk stun, and do some nastiness there. Well, I guess he's gonna leave all of this mana back. I guess the next thing to worry about would be is if he's going to drop the Harrowing next turn, which this is kind of a scary spot in that sense. He doesn't seem to want to play any cards right now. That would kind of indicate that he's going to try and boom us with it. So I think we need to be open attacking here. So ideally we can just blast in a ton of damage, and then if he wants to Harrowing, we can kill with Decimate. So if we get 2 of these units in, we need to deal 7 damage for this round. I think this is okay. He's going to take, say, like a 1 damage ping onto the Solari Priestess. We would end up losing it, but then we still get the 7 out of the Pigeon and the Sun Guardian. That wasn't... that was not a Harrowing. Let's still just get a big boy on board, see if he taps down a little too low. Drop in the Decimate. Okay. Victory unlocked, victory achieved. Let's see if Aatrox Cane can't do the same thing for us. So a little bit of whoopsies, a little bit of Crimson Pigeon mishap. We'll need to sort that kind of thing out as we get into the next games. But See what we can do. You get a little click happy out here on occasion, you know. I'm not. It's been a fairly recent video as to where I was accidentally clicked through an attack because I have this bad habit of just clicking the screen over and over again. And it was I probably guess just picked it up in Hearthstone, but in Hearthstone you have like much more selected clicks, if you will, given that you're clicking the stuff off of the board, and I don't do too much of like clicking the cat on this one, and so kind of awkward in that sense. But here, to jump back into this one, I want to get equipped as fast as we can here, and then get going with the Keeper of the Box. And so, reasonable start with our Bakai. I'm not super interested in the value that we generate out of these attacks, putting the stats on the units on top of our deck, but I'm mainly interested here in getting that first equip. So now our Keeper of the Box, our Fanatic, our Momentous Choices are all activated. What you got for his Boisterous Host? You're smaller than this 4/4 Shadowblade Fanatic, and so I did the mathematics on that one. If he attacks and gets the bonus from Hallowed, the Fanatic should still survive. You're welcome. I'm out here doing the mathematics so you don't have to. Now we do want to kill his 3-power unit. If we get to come into this next turn, attack with the Keeper of the Box and have it unblockable, that would be most delightful, especially given that he did have the potential to have a blocker on board here. Okay, so, I mean, he's getting pretty worn down. He's down to just 2 cards in hand. We have about 1 million. We're about to start picking up our Aatroxes and Arcanes. We're going to get our Keeper of the Box online and going and generating some health. He really needs to have a big kind of like chain hand, which it doesn't surprise me if he will. If he's going to start playing like Gwens and start playing the more cyclical kind of engine cards. Okay, though, so how do we want to handle this? We will have 5 mana next turn. So if we assume that the Keeper of the Box is going to survive, we can Momentous Choice Furious Wielder to kill off a Katarina. I think I'm just going to pass here. This, like, takes away his opportunity to, like, level up the Katarina immediately. And if we can kill her before she flips, it's just so much easier to deal with. He's at Hallowed 2 now, so it would be 4 damage coming in from the host. We don't even have to trade with it. It's a little bit dangerous, though, if we... it's a little bit dangerous if he has a combat trick here, and so... Well, we should know. We should know he doesn't have any. He already played the 1, right? He already played the 1 Mark of the Isles? He did. So do we just let this happen? We have the Momentous Choice in hand, so we can protect our Keeper of the Box. I mean, his Katarina's done for, right? He has no additional ways to make strikes. I think this is fine. A Ruined Reckoner. Is that guy really coming in? Seven. All right. Well, we have to block. I was trying to think if we could really just put this off, but that's too dangerous. We just need to drag this game out. As long as he's not pulling off big rally combos, then we're gonna be okay. So we can get Kane on board. That picks up the Aatrox, which is nice. We can try and challenge down the Ruined Reckoner. I'm curious. I think we just want to pass here. Like, he can bring back Katarina with an Eternal Dancers. Like, Eternal Dancers is the unit it feels like he's trying to get on the board right now. Maybe not. Interesting. Not how I anticipated that one to go. So we just need to start getting some dudes down. Unforgiven Cold. Ooh, wow. Just like everything that I would like to draw in the upcoming turns coming right at us. I'm going to go with the Unforgiven Cold out of this one. Just gives us the most protection for when things go wrong. Who's down to 3 mana at this point. What's even left in here? He plays 2 Ravenous Flocks, 2 Vile Feasts, 1 Nox and Fervor. And that's the extent. I don't think we have to worry too much here. I think we can get Aatrox on the board. We have a delightfully terrible block for whatever goes out on the left. If he wants to attack big with the Fallen Reckoner for like 8 or whatever that'll be, we still have a pretty reasonable amount of heal getting ready to come back in. Aatrox, I mean, you're just gonna soak that right up. All right, seems reasonable. Now we know we're drawing the. We know we're drawing the Frostbite for when his next set of attacks roll back around. It's a little unfortunate in the sense that if we'd taken one of the strikes, we could get Kane back in hand and get him replayed so that he gets to search out. Or I'm sorry, so that he gets to get replayed and block, but I think it's okay. Now the fresh question is, do we want to just like play a Naka? And while that does sound kind of nice, I'm a little bit worried about opponents still playing the Harrowing. And so I think we just want to build up a little bit of board here, and then we can cycle back around to maybe trying to play the World Ender a couple of turns from now. Boisterous Host coming at us. All right, he's tapped way down and only has 1 unit left at this point, and so I think we should be pretty safe for the next turn. He's going to do some of that nasty can't block and stuff to our bros, but we have a lot of fresh units to add to the board. No, Furious Wielder. Very timely, my friend. There's the Eternal Dancers, and so it would be nice to get that off of the board, but we're not going to have time. Right, you can like preemptively Frostbite, but then he can attack with the Halloeds and still get the good bonus coming out of the Dancers. All right, looks like we're taking 5. Sure. So the big thing for us here is if he does play the Harrowing like defensively on this upcoming turn, he has a Reckoner, right? He has the dude that brings back, or the dude that gives the free attacks, but he doesn't have rallies in there. Oh, he does have a Katarina in there. It's a level 1 Katarina, though, not a level 2. No shit, these dum-dums still can't block? That's a little depressing. A little depressing. He's throwing GGs out here. Oh no. Alright. Ooh, so a little sloppy, not as beautiful as you would like to have your seasonal start go, but enough to take down victories. And so, you know, no goose eggs for this one. We got at least 1 victory on the day. Mark it a W for bust, and we'll see you here in 44 minutes. Alrighty. Match number 2 coming at us. Jump on in. Going up against old Doug Ito TV. And so this is a kind of lineup that we were expecting to come at us. They have Echo Jinx, Gangplank Sejuani, and Aatrox Kane. This is that space that was kind of a bummer for me in these matchups, to where we have both Echo Jinx and Aatrox Kane, because I really don't want to play an Aatrox Kane mirror match. But as they say, it is what it is. And so we'll come in. I'm just going to ban out the Echo Jinx. There's nothing in here that's going to be too surprising to me to make me actually want to come out and play this match. And so we'll just be, man, it's like it's so easy to kind of think about how you want to do it beforehand, but then once it actually gets here, things can be a little different. I guess it is worth kind of taking a peek at the deck list here and seeing how set up this deck is for the early game and such. And the thing that I was kind of immediately looking at here was the Shadowblade Fanatics. I felt like if this was a Aatrox Kane that, say, just had the Cultists and the Bakai, the Keeper of the Box, but then was kind of cutting low on the threes, I would feel, kind of decent about just trying to high roll into it. But these Echo Jinx decks are just a little bit too much, and so this is the one that we're going to be taking out. It's a matchup to where if we pull up the tables, right, this is the top two up here as to where both of our decks are going to be fairly weak against Echo Jinx, and I ultimately worry about having to take that matchup on. But it is kind of interesting seeing it. Maybe we can just bring up the Aatrox Kane and take out the mirror match. It's like I just feel like I'm automatically losing that one as soon as it comes up, and so that's what I'm going to do. It has been decided we will not play that Aatrox Kane mirror match. And so if we pull up the remaining deck lists, I think this should all be pretty straightforward. 2 parlays, 3 Make It Rains, and the 3 Spirits Unleashed coming out of the Gangplank. All right, so nothing like preparation, am I right? But I assume coming into this matchup, what we're going to see out of the opponent is they're just going to ban out our Aatrox Kane. And so it is kind of one of those interesting spots as to where would he really leave up the mirror match, right? He has such good matchups with his Echo Jinx deck into both of our aggro decks that he's almost certainly going to ban Aatrox Kane. And then with that in mind, and then the thought that we probably don't have to play the mirror match, then maybe it's just not so bad. Maybe we can just actually ban out the Echo Jinx deck and leave the Aatrox Kane up. I don't think we ever just get like boomed here as to where the opponent kind of like levels this and says, well, I can take my slightly okay Gangplank matchup into Aatrox Kane and kind of hope for the best. I think that he bans it out most of the time. And so now that I've thought on it a little bit more, I think we will ban out this Echo Jinx, and then we'll leave the Aatrox Kane up. Okay, so I'm fine with the Gangplank list. Everything in here is pretty straightforward. The Jagged Butchers, Shell Shockers, Merchants, there's nothing crazy out of here. This is a fairly stock list. The things I need to kind of get familiar with are going to be the Aatrox Kane. And it's interesting seeing a couple copies of Darkened Fan. This isn't a card that you usually see a ton of. How many equipment is this? Like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Interesting. The Darkened Fan is usually occupied as like a one of, and so interesting to see that. Otherwise, he is playing the 3 Fanatics, the 3 Wielders, and none of the kind of odds and end cards. It was a very straightforward collection of cards out there. All right, give me the chance to ban Echo Jinx. Get on out of here. I suspect the Aatrox Kane going to get banned for us, and then we'll be taking our aggro decks up against the remainder of the friends here. And so we'll start off with Katarina Leona. Again, this is the deck that I'm the most comfortable with, and I think the matchup here isn't as terrible against the Aatrox deck as you typically see a lot of the matchup tables look. The way a lot of this tends to go is that we have that slightly slower list. We're not playing the really hyper aggressive Noxus stuff, and so that's where the percentage points from the Aatrox Kane kind of turn in. But with this reasonable enough start, I can see an argument for mulliganing away a Sun Guardian to look for a 1-drop, but I think that that's a little aggressive here. These double Sun Guardian starts are quite powerful because the opposing deck doesn't have a ton of interactivity. Let us come on out here, grow our friends, get the big old stats going. All right, Sun Guardian time. Not bad, not bad. We'll have to see if we can't circle around into this unit a couple of turns from now with Katarina. It's a pretty powerful combat trick to get the shutdown on our unit. Leona ready to party as well. Sounds good. Interesting. He says, "Give me those heals. I need the stats on my friends." You don't have to worry too much about the unit at the moment. It's not the opponent is very healthy, and it's not really in a space to where the keeper of the box is going to be recovering a bunch of health, right? It's not like we did a bunch of work with Legion Rearguard, attacked opponent down to like 8, and now he's got a +2 attack, quick attack on it, and he's getting +4 on that attack. It's just all that stuff isn't happening here, and so see what we can do. Just keeps loading it up. He says, "Give me my Aatrox ASAP. I need him stat." Well, we'll go ahead and try and take down the unit. If he has a double Frostbite, I mean, that's fine. We're not presenting too much damage here. This is a really awkward draw from the opponent. So we should be able to, say, play a Sunburst and a Katarina this turn. Next turn, get a stun, and then hopefully close out the game. Really need to be getting the game essentially closed as the next turn starts. All right, it looks like he's just fading our stun here. That's okay. This is a spot where I'm actually kind of interested in Written in the Stars. We just have so much stuff that I think we want to stick on to the high power of our champions. I can see the argument for picking up the Traveler. Like, if you take the Traveler and then, you roll into a bigger unit, you have a lot of opportunity there to... a lot of opportunity there to get, like, a big... elusive that the opponent can't deal with particularly well, but I think this is fine. He's going to play Aatrox. We still have a barrier on Leona. We'll get to play a Sunburst unit next turn, get the stun on Aatrox, and hopefully close out the game. No one-cost cards here that matter. He's going to just be doing this to gain the point of health. Be sweet if we had the kill on Aatrox here. A little bit short. A little bit short. I guess the other answer with Written in the Stars I didn't really stop and think about is if we had a stun bird, it would be just like actually exceptional here as to where we get the stun with Leona and then we play her next card. Like I think that's where we want to be going with this. So if we're going to Written in the Stars for 4, we'll follow up with that. I'm going to lead out with the Solari Soldier. And then we'll see if we need to try and Written in the Stars to pick up Leona and then do a Morning Light, right? Morning Light was where I was thinking as to where, okay, well, we might be able to just end the game this turn. Strikes down our Katarina. Okay. So Aatrox gets stunned, but he does still have these the opportunities to do these big hits with the Deathbringer strike. Okay. I guess if he wants to survive, the only thing he can kill right now is the Priestess, so not ultra intimidating, but got some opportunity there. This is just beautiful now. It's like even if we don't hit Leona, we can still just Katarina coming out of this. Very nice. Look at these many stats she has now. I wouldn't be surprised to see a second Deathbringer slash come in. It's pretty painful given the way that this game is sequenced out for the opponent here. All right, but we're gonna hook the Keeper of the Box way out to the left. I'm not intimidated by the Aatrox that's on the board. Look to, as it stands, that's just straight up lethal there. It looks like he's going to take down the Katarina, prevent the 5 damage, and keep her from flipping. But I think this is fine. Going through a lot of work to protect his units. Okay. Can't forget we got this Decimate just hanging out in the back line. it's got some opportunities for success as well. His World Ender is on 10 if you were curious about that. But now we can drop Ravoon, we can keep some more of these units going. Aatrox comes in, sure, we'll get the stun with Ravoon, we can get another stun on the turn with a Shield Bearer if we want, but as it stands, I don't think it's going to be necessary. Gonna have to be overwriting stuff next turn if we want to get all these things down on the board. But it's a really nice stun package that we have here, right? We can knock a lot of his units out of the way. Just overwrite the priestess over and over again. Poor things. So here, do we want to go for the Written in the Stars again? This is another space to where either picking up the Leona or picking up the Katarina would be quite good. So let's check it out. Let's pick it up and see what we hit. We still have the Solari Soldier that is exceptional here as well. Just a nice 1-mana stun to try and shut down his team. World Ender. Okay. Get the big old life steals. I see what you're trying to do. But the nice thing here is he can't play any of the strike cards, right? He's just short of that. All right, stun number 1. You know what's about to come down? It's going to be stun number 2. I'm here to keep track of this for you. You're welcome. There we go. Had some kitties that needed to hang out. We're good now. We're square. And so interesting with the Zolani coming in, we are running out of stuns, and so we could just switch to Ravoon. Interesting. Let's take a look at the Written in the Stars. Like either way, we're gonna get another stun out of the Shield Bearer, but if we pick up Leona, we can make a little bit more out of this turn. So that was perfect. Shield Bearer comes in. It's going to give us a stun. The Morning Light for 2 will give us that last stun that we need. Hopefully we'll be calling it a day. Stun after stun after stun after stun. Good job, squad. So, all right. The Sunburn bringing us victory always feels good. I feel so nice and wonderful with that deck. Opponent had a pretty weak draw there, don't get me wrong. But, again, as that matchup into Aatrox as you look at the stats online, it's tough as you see a lot of the lists playing like Legion Saboteurs and House Spiders and Revelers Feasts. We don't play that garbage, and so it skews a little bit differently. So now back up against Aatrox Kayn again. I'm going to just get rid of everything. I want to find a stronger early game. It is nice starting with the Lulu Flame Chompers, but we can't do that until turn 4. And if we mulligan kind of awkwardly and don't find anything to do in the first couple turns of the game, it's going to go real poorly. And so I'm good to just go ahead and get rid of all of that. Now here, this is one of these places to where it's kind of tough. I don't really want the Biggle Dust at this stage of the game, but this is one of the ways for us to really close it out. But without access to a Poro generator at this point, as we immediately draw one, I was kind of okay with just going ahead and getting rid of it. Alright, well let's see if he's got the equipment at this point. Typically just want to find the cheaper ones here. Salty Spinner is going to have to be okay. It's just not the strongest one. I'd prefer to find like a 2-cost one or an elusive. Let's see if he comes in with the equip. I'm going to attack either way. The Kai. Alright. Alright, so he's going to have an equipment coming in on the next turn, right? He just put a Darken card or an equipment on top of his deck. You don't usually put the likes of Kayn on top of your deck, and so I would assume that he picked up an equipment off of that one. You didn't spin the stats good enough. I guess we didn't have enough discards to get him up to 3 power, but we're just going to get hit by the Keeper of the Box now. Kind of a bummer. And Lulu now. I was going to say, I want to play this for just like a little bit of value. I wanted to play the Yordle Squire, discard the Scrap Heap, and then see if we couldn't hit a 2-cost Yordle. But we're not quite in that space now. And so let's start with the Squire. We'll follow up with Lulu. See if we can't get a good attack in this round. We're going to have to trade Lulu for the Keeper of the Box most likely, but I think it's okay just to kind of clear this stuff out and make him spend a bunch of mana. Oh, got another cat that wants to hang out. You see? He walked away. Alright. Fine, dude. And a Bloodletters. Okay. Get that damage in. And so at least the slight perk, well, I was hoping he blocked our Lulu with the lifesteal unit. Instead, if he blocks with the lifesteal, we get to negate a lot of that life gain, but didn't quite come about. Interesting, he doesn't attack with, or doesn't block with the Keeper. And so this can put us in a spot to where, you know, we might get a block in front of the Keeper and then just pokey-stick our own unit away to stop him from gaining 3. It's especially relevant if we're just going to completely fill out our board anyways. Come on, bud. You want to be on the YouTube? He just walks away. Fucking cats, dude. Alright, and Kayn. So how are we going to finish this game off, right? We have sort of 6 damage in hand with the 2 Poro Cannons that get excited, 7 if we include the Pokey Stick. I'm not worried about the first Kayn hit, it's the second one that's kind of problematic. And I don't want to just pass here, right? That feels like the worst thing we could do. If opponent just sends it right back to us, we're going to be struggling there. So we'll let that one go. Trumpet Tecker, slightly interesting. I feel like the Trumpet Tecker is usually a bait, but if we're going to try and finish off the game next turn, especially if we're going to try and finish it off with elusives, then we have some real game coming out of this. Okay. go. Here we go. It's a different kitty. He says, "What up, internet? Thank you for spending time with me." All right, he's attacking, and so let's let him have the opportunity here. Kayn can have the strike. I think that's okay. I'm gonna put a blocker in front of the keeper of the box to prevent. Oh shit, he's got fearsome. Guess that's not gonna work. So we fall to 5. He goes up to 14. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So I guess the question here is, do we want to pokey stick, right? We can say pokey stick down the Dragonling and then draw the card, discard whatever the card is to Poro Cannon. I think that that's okay. And then if we really have to, we can just discard Get Excited to the Poro Cannon. Pick up a Jerry Rig. Okay. Okay. It's not looking great. This is a pretty tough board for us to kill through, but you know, we got the best we can do. Look at this salty spinner. He says, "Look out, guys! I'm ready to fuck." Oh man, he's trying to get it done. He's trying. Too bad we don't have a challenger in here to take away the Forsaken Bakai. Oh, that's nasty. That's nasty. All right. Well, this is never good. Now you have reasonable stats, Salty Spinner. You could have done that so much nicer, so much cleaner. All right, well, let's start to cycle some stuff. Our hand doesn't do anything right now. We need to improve. We're going to lose all of our elusives here. Is this really how we try and take down Kayn? It's probably what we have to do. So that's going to recall him back. Okay. A long road to take to get these back down, but you gotta pick up a Jinx or something next turn to maybe finish this off. So Kayn comes back down. He's going to attack again. We have to start blocking stuff. Probably can't attack with the keeper of the box though. Right, this is just going to be a hook into the Daring Poro and probably an attack with Aatrox. He's out of mana, so we don't have to worry too much about these attacks. Interesting, interesting, bringing it all. And this will take us to 1. Okay. And then we want to leave the bigger stats on the Salty Spinner. I think that makes sense. Opponent only gains 9 on the attack. I don't think we're going to be getting 20 out of this next turn, but let's see what we pull off. There's no reason to open with Lulu. All right. On to the Gangplank matchup. So sometimes you don't see the full 3 copies of the Spirits Unleashed within the Gangplank decks. That's the big kind of space you run into with these matchups, is trying your best to not get your board blown up by by all of the AoE. And so we'll see if we're able to kind of navigate their early game Make It Rains and parlays into the mid game 3/3s and try and shut some of that stuff down. So reasonable enough start. I don't want the Poro Cannon stuff here. I'm going to get rid of Lulu as well. We just need to be down and dirty in the early game. And again, if we were on the odd attacks, I would be okay to hang on to Lulu. On the even attacks, I'm just not nearly as excited about having her on board. Now, I'm just going to pass here. This is like an awkward spot as to where if we play a unit into his parlay, it kind of sucks. And so I'm just going to just skip over that opportunity so he doesn't get to level up the board. Now, I think we can add in Yordle Squire. I'm going to take the shield. If he comes in with Marai Warden now, we're going to want 2 units on the board instead of just 1. And so we'll get a little bit of protection here for our friend. Now, the question is, do we want to like save the tiny shield to give someone +1 health, or do we just go ahead and discard it? And I think we can discard it. We have enough stuff going on in hand with the Poro Cannon and the Squeaker to deal with these Boom Baboons. I don't think we have to be too value-oriented with it. Oh boy, he's coming at us. That's pretty brutal. This is going to be a tough one to recover from. We need our Lulu back now. Now that we've picked up the Flame Chompers, we need the Lulu to go along with it. Who do we have in here? Bouncer and Bolt. Typically good, but not against what opponent has going on. I think we just need to pick up the Mecha Forcer. See if we can't start to get some good hooks with the Flame Chompers. But the important thing up to this point, at least, this is his 3rd tick on the level up. We've got him behind on 1 for the round, so get some opportunities to get a little bit ahead of his champions. Is he trying to Spirits Unleashed here? He's got the 5 mana for it. Okay. Well, here comes the squad, friend. We're bringing them in. Say, I'm ready for battle. Let's throw down. It's interesting if he was saving the Spirits Unleashed for after this attack. Now he doesn't even get to kill the Flame Chompers because of the barrier. It's nothing. Interesting. Curious what that amounts to in hand. Just playing like actual nothing. If he had any unit, he would have played it. Just has to have a handful of champions would make sense. So can we get our Squeaker up to 4? That's going to be the way to go about the turn here. Can surprise him in combat, just discarding it to Flame Chompers. I'd like to take down the Gangplank here, and so see if we can't pull that off. Let's lead with the Yordle Squire. Gonna pick up a shield. I still worry about the incomingness of a. Ooh, make it rain. Okay, I still worry about a incoming. Spirits Unleashed. Oh, that's not how it works, is it? Shit. It's okay. Has he dealt damage to us this turn? He has not. And so he's definitely coming in through now. That was messed up. We should have played the Tiny Shield. I was under the impression that we got the bonus discarding the card. I think we can still recover here, but that was definitely not ideal. Would have done this a little bit differently if I knew we weren't killing the Gangplank. I think we can still put the damage on it. We can flip the Jinx next turn and try and take that angle. It's just if he gets to flip, then we're behind again. This is the critical turn of the game, and we fucked it hard. Fucked it hard. I thought that counted as playing the Yuna. This is what we get for not playing enough games with this deck. Kind of a bummer, but that's the spot we found ourselves in. So I'm going to come in with the Yordle Squire now. We'll pick up the Tiny Spear. If it comes down to it and we get the hook into Gangplank with a one-attack unit, that's all we can really hope for at this point. Hopefully we get a way to take him down. I'm going to put it on the Flame Chompers just so if he has a Make It Rain, then we can be a little bit safer. But if he gets to flip in the middle of combat, he's going to get the kill with Gangplank. Kind of is what it is. Warning Shot, that's fine. We can try and take him down with Jinx on the upcoming turn, but this game would be... that's so brutal. It's just a straight loss for us because of the way we handled that. Zap comes in. He's only got one card in hand, though. He can AoE away our whole team. I think we just have to kind of live with that. We'll see what we can't do with Jinx next turn. We can play Jinx, discard whatever we draw, try and pop off a Death Rocket. See if that'll be enough to turn the corner here. Takes us to 1. What a brutal place to be. Damn. Alright, well maybe he just has absolutely nothing, right? We know he played Zap, but we're so dead here. Yeah, that's like we just threw that one away. If he wasn't, like, we were in that spot to where he has to attack with Gangplank to get the level up, and if he has to attack with Gangplank to trade into our Squeaker, then he's just so super far behind on board. And I was trying to like line it up in my head to where we were just going to get him. We were just going to discard the generated card to the Poro Cannon and then get the augment that way. And that was just not the way it's not the way that the game works mechanically. And that was what completely threw the game away from us. I still feel like his last card in hand was probably like a Spirits Unleashed, but without that Gangplank in hand and taking that massive hit of damage there, the next turn investing in killing Gangplank and just failing because he gets to level up, and then going into the next turn and having to have him attack again, it all just snowballed on top of that one play, and we 100% had the way around it. We could have played the we could have played the shield that we had in hand to get the level up on our guy and completely change the course of the game. But that's what happens, man. I played a million matches of Sunburn. I played 500,000 matches of Aatrox Kane, and I've probably played like 50 to 75 matches of the Jinx deck, and it's just it's what happens when you pick up the deck 2 days before the tournament. Is you make really basic mistakes like that, and you can't win one of these events playing like that. And so, a little unfortunate. We'll try to clean it up a little bit, move on, see if we can't chase down a little bit further in here. All right, next round is here. Let's jump on in. Oh, high in orbit. And so what do we have here? It looks like Jinx Lulu, probably similar to what we're bringing. We'll swing back to that in a moment. Pirates with the Crimson Pigeon. I'm more than okay to play against Pirates with all three of our deck lists, so that one should be fine. And then down here at the end, we have the old Draven Scion discard with no Vise. And so I think that this is the one that we would be happy enough to play against as well. I'm going to look to just ban out the Jinx Lulu so we can avoid the mirror match and then deal with Pirates and Draven. And so kind of the lineup lookingness with that, if you will. Jinx, Draven, P, and Z is down here. That's going to be in this kind of space that I'm trying to put the red mark, it looks like that's a slightly poor matchup for Aatrox Kane, but still strong for the other ones. And then Pirates is where we're putting this. Let's go with blue marker, right? This is to where all of the matchups look pretty strong. And so happy enough to take on those. With Jinx Lulu, we do actually have some bad matchups. Aatrox Kane is fine. We'd be a 50-50 with our Jinx Lulu. And then it's a poor matchup for Katarina. And so I'm more than happy to come in and ban that one out. I don't think there were anything too crazy within these lists. There's only, well, no, there's 12 one drops within Pirates. I was about to say there's only 9, but it looks like it has the full 12. Then he's going for the width with the House Spider, the Mirai Warden, and the Island Navigator. So really hanging heavy on those Reveler's Feasts. And then to get access to those Reveler's Feasts, not playing very many cheap spells. And so just the 1 copy of Make It Rain, 3 copies of Nox and Fervor, to make those Reveler's Feasts a little bit easy to draw. And so got you with that there. Over with the Draven Scion Novi, if you will. Still another pretty aggressive early game package. 9 1-drops with the 2 Grenadiers. A little bit slower after that, though. The Boom Baboons, Fallen Riders, that's all fine. He is playing Lost Souls, and so I was playing this much more aggressively when I played Draven Scion. Did not include Lost Souls, but makes sense here. And so the burn package, we got the 2 Nox and Fervors, 3 Get Excited, 3 Mystic Shots, and surprising to me, 0 Decimates. And so I'm happy enough with this idea. We'll do battle with the Noxus. We will ban out the Jinx Lulu. All right, so here we go. We're going to ban out the Jinx Lulu. You have been removed. See what opponent does. Do battle with Pirates and Draven. This is a lineup that I would have taken to battle in seasonals past. I feel like maybe 2 seasonals ago played something like Pirates, Jinx, Draven, or Pirates and Draven Scion. Maybe probably tried to include Scouts in there in some way, but I don't quite remember. So opponent bans out Aatrox Kane. Not really surprised there. As we are up against these really aggro-centric decks, we're just going to shoot for as much early game as we can. And so Solari Shield Bearer, a fantastic shutdown for whatever opponent wants to do on turn 2. And then ideally we can just kind of flood out the board from there. Terrible mulligan, though. This is almost as close to a disaster as you could have. Picking up Katarina, Nox and Fervor, Decimate, and then drawing into Katarina. This is horrible. This is horrible. And so hopefully we can recover out of this. This is at least a nice round for us. It's if he wants to blast with the units that he has on board, he's going to have to send them into the Shield Bearer. And then if he doesn't bring it in, then that just feels like a pretty big win for us. And so my thought here is I just want to get Katarina on board, not really planning on attacking with her. If we get a Mystic Shot or something, then that's fine and great. I would like to just kind of do whatever we can to slow down the opponent. So that works nicely there. I think, do we want to Blade's Edge? I think we do. There's a very real chance on this next turn that we just add another Katarina and try and kill off one of his units. We don't really need her to close out the games. We've already got this like giant value package with Leona Ravoon. And just getting her on board as a blocker and a threatener with the Blade's Edge seems fantastic.
Never play fair.
Coming at you with my threateners. So we'll see how he attacks. It does get a little awkward for opponent in terms of setting up these pigeons. It's going to leave him with a bunch of 1 health units that then die to Blade's Edge. I don't think opponent was playing survival skills. Let me double check that one real quick. They are not. So we don't have to worry about too many problems coming at us here. And oh man, he got it. He got out of it. He's got all these healthy units here. Fine. Still not bad, only taking 3 damage through turn 4 of the game. All right, what you got for us now? We are a little bit behind on our Leonas and hitting the daybreaks, but other than that, we're looking pretty okay. Do we ever attack with Ravoon? I think we do. I think we might. So let's go ahead and get him on the board. I'm more interested in using things with Leona and Solari Soldier, and Sunburst is actually a monumental pickup in this matchup. Being able to get the silence kill onto a Scion so that he can't recover incredibly, incredibly powerful. Okay, I'm not the hugest fan of Draven coming on the board. That starts to open up the opponent to play cards like Whirling Death if they have a second Draven in hand. It just doesn't seem ideal to just spend all of the stats at this point. Especially, it looks like opponents getting ready to open attack here, and it's slightly scary. I'd really like to get the Leona on board. So are we gonna drop Nox and Fervor in this combat? I think we should. I'm leaning towards blocking a 4 attack unit with Ravoon, and then Nox and Fervoring down Draven. Do we even want to destroy the Draven though? We can get kind of behind in terms of units on the board, and so Draven is a little less scarier than the Risen Rider. Just go for that extra point of damage prevention. I think that's the way we want to go. And we just need time here. We need this game to drag on, and I just want to prevent the damage. So we'll see if our Ravoon falls here. That's kind of critical if he ends up dying. He's providing us with all of the sunbursts out here. Okay. Goes for the counterspell on the Nox and Fervor. Now if we can pick up one more sunburst, we can get these barrier hooks in with Leona. Alright, so let's get all of our friends on board. See what happens for the next turn. Wasn't playing Reveler's Feast, right? Is that something we have to worry about here? He was not. Okay, it's just going to be the standard burn cards coming at us. Ooh, and a Shunpo. Don't have the mana for it here, but you see the Shunpo and you immediately get excited. You know, the nastiness you can bestow upon your opponent's board if you get that secondary attack in. All right, so on this board, I'm really just looking to attack. Hey, do we need to start attacking with Ravoon? I think if opponent's dropping burn spells onto him, it's probably okay. I don't think he wants to get really involved with him, though. He's losing fairly high-quality units if he wants to make that block. He can put Risen Rider in front and double Spinning Axe, but that just feels like a win for us. What's this old Scion at? He's getting kind of close to the level up. I don't think if he plays Scion that he'll immediately hit it. You can't tell what his attack power is. He only says 2. You know he's discarded something at this point, but kind of is what it is. All right, and he does throw his Draven down. I'm curious if he just has another one in his hand. I was a little bit worried about the Whirling Death in the previous combat. I feel like if he had the Whirling Death, he would have just played it. And so, interesting. Oh man, is he going to play more cards? If he doesn't take the open, we just have like so many ways to try and shut this down. But all right, so he does bring it. Scion is a little on the small side, but we do have to worry about him killing our dudes here. Right, Scion can punch in for a bunch of damage. All right, well, let's just throw down all the blocks that we can. He starts dropping burn spells onto our champions and stuff. I think that that's okay. There's the flip. Oh boy, we're just lethal, aren't we? I assure you he's going to go for it. But I mean, that was a tough draw. We drew a lot of garbage this game. We drew the Decimate, Nox, and Fervor at the start just equates to so much damage taken. Damn. Well played, dude. Alright, well. See if we can't circle back and get a nice 2-0 on the Pirates. Whew, that's tough. I feel like, I mean, there was a couple things in there. We didn't attack with a turn with Ravoon, but that just gives him a chance to decide if he wants to take the damage, probably not throw the units away. Oh, that's tough. But here, I do like hanging onto the Priestess. She gives us like a little bit of something to do in the early game, and then she gives us some pretty high-powered draws to continue on. I didn't really want a second Priestess, but kind of is what it is. We're stuck with her. We'll do our best to help you out the most we can. Cannot block fast enough. Okay, brings back the rear guard. Interesting. Very surprised to see that. Like, what else are you going to get out of this rear guard, even if you have a misfortune in your hand? He must just have a Reveler's Feast already. That's what this would strike me as. Like, if he's just... He has a Reveler's Feast hand, but doesn't have a... what's her name? Doesn't have a... like, Mirai Warden or House Spider and just trying to punch in the damage. That's the way I at least look at it. But not bad for us. We're getting the big boys on board. Got a reasonable attack on the upcoming turn. Our friend Solari Priestess is going to give us all the juice we need. There's the Golden Sister for the lifesteal. You can look to take a Fallen Comet, but I don't think like we're that worried about misfortune. As this board stands, we can still attack with the Sun Guardian and block something and not have it. He can block it, it'll take 3 damage, and then it won't die to a misfortune shot. Be very surprised to see the blocks come in. Maybe he does just have a bunch of like it strikes me as odd, like with what the opposing deck is trying to do, especially after it just played Zap. I would think that you're just trying to keep all of your units on board and then dealing as much damage as you can with the Reveler's Feast, and then trying to kill with Decimate. So that's the way I've got it together in my brain piece. All right, well, we're blocking. We'll see if he, like... Ooh, no Reveler's Feast on the rear guard. Cool. So I feel a lot better now that we're able to get the Golden Sister on board. Not guaranteed to get the lifesteal out of it or anything, but getting the potential for the lifesteal needing to eat a Nox and Fervor, and then also having the unit that can interact with Zap gives us a pretty interesting board position. Really pretty happy with all the things this can pull off. Ooh. I wonder if he just has another Nox and Fervor in hand. That's interesting. If he's going to do that preemptively just to not burn out on the mana, he has to just have a handful of spells. I think we still want to drop the Golden Sister, though, if we're just, like, eating more... if we're just eating more Nox and Fervors to our units instead of our face, then that feels like a pretty big win. Don't get ahead of yourself, bro. Listen to misfortune. Go interesting. Well, I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty good spot to be in. We're going up to 16. We still have 2 units on board, and opponent only has 1 card in hand. I think we're looking pretty good here. Alright, looks like that was a GG. Alright, on to game 3. Jinx Lulu against the Pirates. Let's see what we can do. Oof. Okay, and so again, we just need to get a lot of early game going. I don't really want to be kind of stuck on this Lulu plan in the early game. She can be okay here. It's just like if we don't have the discards to go with her, then it's a bit of a bummer for a draw. As to where up against Pirates, if they have one of their real kind of go wide draws, then Lulu doesn't have a ton of opportunity to shine. So I'm going to get rid of her. I just want to find something to do in the early game. More of these 1s, more of these 2s. Our boy Rearguard comes in. I'm going to not go with the Bell Ringer first. I'm leaning towards just taking the Urchin and cycling out the Biggle Dust. It's the slowest card that we have in our hand, and we're not going to be getting those big blow-up draws anytime soon with it. So the thing to remember with opponent here is they're only playing 1 copy of Make It Rain, and so they have Make It Rains and they have Twisted Fates, but they don't have they don't have a lot of early game kill for the stuff that we're presenting. All right, let's see if that Misfortune comes in to mess with our day. She does. Okay, I'll just take the 1 from the Spiderling, and then we'll see what we can pick up with the Squeaker. Or if Misfortune comes in, I'll certainly trade with her. It's 2 damage is where we're stopping? Wow. Okay. Interesting. Let's see what you got for us, Squeaker. So, not the strongest set. I'm okay with Smash and Dash. He's the most resilient of the units here. Otherwise, we're looking at the Fury Horn Crasher, or the Mecha Forcer would be good if we were going to be picking up a Challenger. So I'm just going to lean in with the Crasher here. My kind of idea with it is we can like take the attack and give the units on top of our deck a boost, and then hopefully they'll just interact with Misfortune a little bit better than what we already have. So I'm looking to attack with the Crasher and then our 1 health units. And he's got red card. Okay. You're bluffing. So he's just going to immediately follow this up with another Twisted Fate. You'd typically like just trade out the House Spider, right? I'm a little worried about that now. Getting that full clear on our board is pretty good. Coming at us with old Steve. Seems like that's most assuredly about to happen here. And so with this, I think we can get rid of the Electro Harpoon. I kind of want to save the Poro Cannon for next turn, but if this goes wrong, then we're going to want it. So now we can pick up Smash and Dash, get it on board. It will survive against this almost assuredly incoming Twisted Fate. What if we think about this, though? What if we just go ahead and get excited away the Misfortune? So then if he follows up with Twisted Fate, the Smash and Dash hasn't taken any damage. Like, we're 100% going to get excited Misfortune. And we don't want her to, like, we don't want to hit her in combat, right? Whew, all right. This is not good. This is brutal. Opponent, we were kind of counting on them to not have the AoEs, and then he's hit us with 2 Twisted Fates, and so it's been a bit of a bummer here. Gotta draw Jinx fast. That's not Jinx. Fuck. Okay. It's like even now if we draw Jinx next turn, we can't do anything with her. Oh wow, he takes the full pass. Interesting. All right, boys, you gotta squeeze them cheeks. We gotta we gotta draw real good, real fast. And so let's see what we can manage. That seems so good for us if he's just throwing in attacks like that. All right, let's just give it a wait. And zap. Oh, that's so brutal. It's so easy for him to pick up a burn spell now. If he now it's like if we play our get excited, he has the opportunity to just Reveler's Feast away the unit. We're so fucked this game. This is done. What a bummer. Right, you just Reveler. Ooh, this is a Noxen Fervor. But either way, just gonna kill our whole team. You put 2 spells forward, it has to be a Noxen Fervor, make it rain. That's all he has the mana for. Okay. Damn. This is not good. Not good, fam. Brutal. What a brutal match. Alright, that's gonna do it. And so, whew, that's where we'll call our seasonals today. I don't feel like my my ladder rank was high enough to deal with the top cut and try and push through another 6 rounds. It was pretty painful. Like we did not play particularly well today. The first match went fine, but we had a misplay in there. We completely punted the second match, and I feel like the last one went okay. It just kind of is what it is when you're up against pirates. It's a reasonable matchup for Lulu Jinx, but we did not have a particularly strong draw, and we got AoE'd twice with Twisted Fate. And so when you're up against a deck that only has 4 AoEs in it and they draw 2, it's kind of a bummer and kind of a letdown. And so kind of a sad ending to our final seasonals. I don't know what's in store for us after this one. But, you know, something's coming, something's happening. There's going to be a lot more tournament play in our future. I don't even know if this is the last seasonals. People have just been saying it's the last one, but nobody knows what's coming. And so maybe there'll be some kind of other event tied to these. But, you know, as far as this one goes, I feel like this was actually quite positive. I know we didn't have a particularly strong run here, just going 1 and 2. That's not a great record by any stretch of the means, but we did absolutely fantastically with the Leona Katarina deck. I felt ultra comfortable with it. The level of comfortable that I am with Katarina Leona is the way that I need to feel about the rest of the decks that we're taking into seasonals. And so, at least for, you know, kind of like perk number 1, I feel like I've kind of gotten that competitive drive back. It's like as we had to play through that Seraphine meta, I just didn't want to play the game. I was really down in the dumps in terms of playing games and making the content. It was a real grind just to jump on and play the games every day. And then once the nerfs there started to happen, it got a little bit better. And then with the back alley bar coming in and removing that stuff from the format, I really kind of jumped back in and really got into it. And so that was, you know, that was great. And also kind of like picking those decks early and getting big runs in with them is something that will also need to be doing. And so I to that end, before we move away from that space, I feel like it is a pretty good. Where was that going? I had something with that. Oh, Oh, a pretty good, kind of thought on the levels of preparation, and so it's just like I feel like I would have played the Sunburn deck against anyone and had pretty good success with it. But as we are getting here towards the decks like Lulu Jinx, I again like I don't know. I know I certainly have less than 100 games with the deck under our belt, and it's just one of those decks that have kind of like slipped by the wayside in terms of. It's had its kind of like rise and fall in popularity, but we never spent a lot of time playing it. And so that's kind of a thing on me as to where I need to kind of find some more balance in terms of either just playing good decks or having different stuff to do each day. It's not as bad when the gauntlets are around, and so I can play like 3 or 4 decks during the week, and then when the gauntlet comes around, I can incorporate back in some of those decks along with the ladder grinders. But as the time winders were running around, I spent a lot of time playing time winders, and that flow didn't really happen. And so that's a thing for me to kind of look to do a little bit better for the future, is to kind of like figure out what space I want to kind of encounter if I want to really try and capture more of that. Like digging in and grinding in with some kind of the same decks, or if I want to kind of just keep expanding out with the different decks each week. We'll see how that goes. A lot of that will kind of depend on how the tournament scene comes forward. But then the last part, at least for the lineup selection and the best of three, I thought we kind of nailed it. I thought we did really well with that. I like our lineup a lot. We were really well prepared for Katarina Gwyn. We were really well prepared for Gangplank. I feel like our matchups there and the last match, we didn't manage to win, but that was a good set of matchups for us across the board. And I think we had this pretty well set up. We did run into our problem case being Echo Jinx along with Aatrox Kane, and then we were in the spot to where we could still just double up on their Gangplank deck. Like everything about this lineup and everything that we were doing in this format, I think went pretty well. It's just kind of on me to improve at the game and really get in more focus and more reps with some of these decks. And so we'll be looking to that for the future. And so that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.